All right, not much is cutting through at the moment politically other than The Voice, but one thing that is, it's Australia's massive increase to migration. The latest survey by the Australian Population Research Institute shows that about 2/3 of Australian voters think we've got enough people here already. And yet the Albanese government, as you know, has ratcheted up our migration to the highest levels in our history. But even that's not enough. It's now reported that businesses will be able to bring in foreign skilled workers in a new visa process that will be fast-tracked to take weeks instead of months. Joining me now to discuss this and more, Sky News political editor Andrew Clennell. Andrew, this policy, we're told, will fill all of the labour shortages we've got, these gaps holding back the economy. Fair enough, that's a good thing. But the volume of people on top of these record numbers of general migrants, given the housing crisis, given the sentiment in the community, why do you think the Prime Minister is so deaf to the concerns of Australians, but also our economic reality?
Well, I just think it's the labour shortage, but where you end up 2 or 3 years down the track is the issue, particularly as the economy gets a bit of a downturn as inflation comes down. So you're quite right. I mean, I've checked this out. I knew you were going to ask me about it. It is true they're looking at this change. They're going to have an employment white paper Monday. Then they're going to have this migration review. And one of the changes will be, as I understand it, getting skilled workers here within weeks. The salary level, according to this financial review, report's $120,000. I heard that's not set in stone. But they're looking at, people who work with software systems, engineers, these sorts of professionals we don't have enough of. And yes, at the moment it can take you 6 months to get here. We're talking about people coming within weeks, but it is a startling number of people. The size of Canberra, 500,000 people almost, who've come here in the past year. That's a real shock to the system. That brings sort of post-war migration feels to you. And I guess that's happened after a couple of years of the border shut. Look, I remember when you and Tony Abbott and others were asking for a cut to the permanent migration rate during the time of Malcolm Turnbull because the infrastructure was seen not to be moving quickly enough. Then we had the pause really with the COVID years, and now we've got this problem again. So on the one hand, the government has to deal with the labour shortage. I don't think there's much doubt about that, Peter. But they need a pretty carefully calibrated migration program to do that. And if you have this net migration coming in, that 500,000 figure, by the way, that's not everyone settling permanently. That includes students and the like. That spells trouble down the track. How do you manage that? It's a very difficult situation because the labour shortage drives inflation as well, as anyone who's trying to get some construction work done at the moment can attest to. But it is a dilemma. It needs to be done with care. And, they love a review, these guys. How many have they done? Let's hope this migration review actually comes up with some solutions and they can implement it pretty quickly and be mindful of the concerns down the track if they flood too many people in too quickly.
The point I'd make, though, they're not bringing in the trades that we need. They're bringing in the higher order business visa holder type. And of course, the Prime Minister only 2 years ago was on the record saying he didn't agree with Scott Morrison wanting to level out that number. He said we should be training more and more Australians. Now, he's changed his tune. But 500, I mean, that's like a snake swallowing a basketball and thinking somehow there's not going to be a ramification. Well, of course there is. No issue with migration. For me, it's the rate of the intake over a 12-month period. Let's go to The Voice, because I played you those comments now from Noel Pearson, making it absolutely plain, absolutely crystal clear. You get a voice, a treaty will follow. Now, I can't say that's a conspiracy theory from Credlin. All of those words are there in Noel's own voice from his own speeches. I know you know, treaty in particular, well, that's killing oxygen for the Yes campaign. That's why they do not want these past comments brought up and debated. But this is the agenda, isn't it, Andrew?
Oh, look, I've always had a bit of the understanding, the Uluru Statement from the Hearts about the voice first and then treaty and a Makarrata commission. But, is it a moot argument, Peter, because the voice is going to fail at the first hurdle? I would put that to you.
Do you think so, though, even with the money to be spent?
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
a bit of complacency on the no camp. Are you still of that view?
I am still of that view. I could have egg on my face in a month, but I said it to you last week and I'm saying it to you again this week. I cannot see it succeeding. I think this is a race about the margin now.
All right, I hope you're right. I'll be sitting with you on the panel, soon to be announced. I know I won't get ahead of myself, but our panel here on Sky News on the night of the Voice vote. Hey, come down to Victoria because there's a huge story today. The Prime Minister is backing Daniel Andrews' new tax on short stay properties like the ones we get on stays or Airbnb. The tax is 7.5%, one of the highest in the world. Andrews, though, says it's modest. Have a listen.
Now, I don't expect this to be universally popular. Some people will say it's too high, some people will say it's not high enough. Some people want Airbnb and these sorts of platforms banned.
Now, a couple of things here. Victoria's drowning in debt. New numbers out today say that its budget forecast will be double New South Wales' debt forecast within 3 years. The PM has backed this cash grab, this levy today. Levy, let's call it a tax. That means, I reckon, that other states will likely follow. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, it's possible they will. I think they'll look at Victoria first. I think Andrews, having been elected with a decent majority pretty recently, is more able to move on these things politically than others. I guess he can put it behind the housing shortage and say there's not enough rentals, there's too many Airbnbs. That's what Albanese played into in his comments in relation to it. They are always looking to tax in ways that they think they can politically get away with. Look at the tobacco tax increases in the federal budget, for example. But, yeah, I mean, you could also call it a tourist tax. That's the danger with it. So, and we've had attempts in New South Wales 20 years ago to put a bed tax on hotels, which never got up. So, look, I mean, no one likes more tax. Is Airbnb an issue in terms of the rental shortage? Probably. Are there bigger issues like supply? Yes. When you said come down to Victoria, I'll be down there next week. Fortunately, I'm not in an Airbnb, so not that the tax is in yet, Peter. I'll be on the desk with you next week.
Hey, talk to me about... Oh, excellent. Talk to me about Cathy Freeman's announcement today in an ad campaign for the Yes mob. Of course, the No campaign then put out a new ad themselves with Jacinta Price. These corporate endorsements, these celebrity endorsements, are they helping the Yes campaign, do you think, or hindering it?
Well, I don't think they hinder, but I'm not sure they necessarily help. So the No campaign's got Jacinta Price out there as an Aboriginal woman opposing the Voice. Which carries more weight? Cathy Freeman saying she's yes to the Voice, which everyone would probably accept and sympathise with, or an Aboriginal woman saying don't believe this Voice out there in the general community in the suburbs. Bizarrely, despite the high cost of production on the Farnham ad and the Cathy Freeman ad, the presence of Jacinta Price in this campaign might just be more powerful out there in those outer suburban areas where they need to win votes and in the region. So, you know, there's no more powerful tool for the No campaign, Peter, than an Aboriginal woman saying this won't work. This isn't the solution. Because I think a lot of Australian people would like to see the plight of Aboriginal people improved. But the question has always been, does the Voice actually do that? And, you know, if this thing goes down, we're going to be conducting a lot of postmortems on the night in question. One of them will be around the detail. Should he have said there were 12 people and, you know, they're elected this way, et cetera, et cetera? I think the answer to that is yes. And the other one is, should he have set it up first before taking it to a constitutional referendum so people could get a look at it? Or is it, you know, just another body full of politicians, not white politicians, but still politicians who aren't going to make a practical difference? I think all these questions go around in people's head. Having said that, Jacinta Price is a politician. Cathy Freeman is not. But I'm not sure this Freeman stuff is better to have it than not to have it. I just don't think it's going to get them 10%.
All right, we'll leave it there. We will, as you say, have plenty to say, whatever the result is after the 14th of October. Thank you, Andrew Clennell. Look forward to your company next week here in person.